do this again. Alright, so I bet a lot of you are wondering why the heck I'm live right now when I rarely ever go live this early. Well, looking through the old Twitch VODs, I realized that during my last stream I was completely mute the whole time. Now, as a lot of you might know, or the people that were here, I had to end my stream like really abruptly the first time I started because I had to go out. And then when I came back, I restarted my stream, but by that point, I had forgotten to unmute myself, and because no one was really in chat, I was never told about it and only found out the hard way once I tried to watch back the VOD. So, for this stream, I'll be redoing everything that I did in my last session. Probably go a little bit more depending on how things go. Alright. And so, I could just, continue on and pretend that, I don't know what's going to happen and pretend like it's blind again, but I don't want it to be forced. Again, this was also the reason that I decided to bring Kane along for when I streamed Doki Doki Literature Club, or DDLC, a long while back, because faked reactions I know are not genuine or anything. So at the same time, I can't really deal with keeping the last VOD and like just moving on and whatever, because you literally see my face cam, my mouth is moving, like I am talking, but there's just no audio and it looks stupid, so I can't keep that one and I'm gonna have to redo it, which is exactly what this stream is for. So, all that being said, as you can see I have like different save files here. This is where I left off, right here, from last stream, where I was mute the whole time. But this is where I'll be starting off. This is exactly where I left off after the first episode. And I'll be picking up from here once more. And maybe instead of like, my initial comments and whatever from when it was blind, I'll just kind of explain the ones that I remember. So, let's get right into it. It was morning, and standing in front of the classroom door here at school, I let out a long sigh. Hikari had come over to my house last night, and we looked at the moon through my telescope together. It was such a wonderful experience. How long has it been since something so emotional and dramatic made my heart beat so fast? My heart was still racing from the thrill I felt as I gazed at the lunar landscape with her. And yet, I'd made a shameful mistake while I was caught up in the moment. I'm sure this is what Dad had wanted to show me. Ah! A couple of students walking nearby flinched in surprise as I threw my arms up around my head in my outburst. Brah! What the heck was up with this woe is me attitude? The embarrassment of remembering was enough to make me want to throw myself out a window. But Hikari had quietly listened to me talk about all of that. I wondered what she really thought of me then. How the heck do I face her after that? As I was fidgeting in front of the classroom... I overheard a very excited voice speaking. I was certain that she was talking about me. Better head to the restroom first. Right as I turned around, there was Saya, who had just arrived at school. She flinched, startled by my sudden movement, and looked up at me with alarm reflected in her multicolored eyes. Tears began swimming in Saya's eyes. Let me just move my window a little bit. There. That's better for me. No escape. I faced forward again and entered the classroom.
月ってデコボコしてるんだよ。知ってた？山とか谷とかがあってね、ゴツゴツした感じ。嘘だ。ツルツルしてるじゃん。嘘じゃないって。私この目で見たもん。ウサギいた？いたかもしれない。いた。ぴょんぴょん跳ねてた。
There was no bunny, I retorted without thinking. I tried to avoid eye contact by turning away, but I was too late.
アキト、おはよう。今なんて？
The girls in the classroom all glared at me in surprise after hearing that Hikari had hung out with me the other day. Morning, Hikari.
名前で呼び合ってる。昨日の夜、何かあったんじゃないあの二人。
The girls started to whisper amongst themselves like we were up to something taboo. It felt like there was a huge misunderstanding on the rise. While we were looking at the moon together last night, Hikari suddenly sprang this conversation on me.
空見くんって、なんか長くて呼びにくいな。アキトって呼んでいい？
That's fine with me.
私のことも光って呼ぶんだよ。
What?
ほうき星さんって超長いじゃん。聞いてるこっちもなんかまどろっこしいんだよね。
Well, yeah, I guess not.
友達ランクさらにアップだね。
And so, we decided that we'd spend time together outside of school too. Although truthfully, I wasn't really used to the idea yet.
どうしたのアキト？風邪でもひいた？
It's nothing. I watched her expression carefully as I answered. It didn't seem like my emotional debacle last night was affecting her in any way. I felt a little relieved.
今ね、昨日のこと話してたんだ。みんなも見たいって、お月様。
When I'd come into the classroom, I was too busy worrying about what to do. I hadn't noticed that the way my classmates saw me had changed from yesterday. I wouldn't go so far as to call it respect, but it was something along those lines. At least they weren't looking at me all confused like I was some kind of alien anymore.
だからさ、やろうよみんなで。天体観測会。天体観測会？何それ？難しそう。全然難しくないよ。天体望遠鏡で星を見るの。それだけ。ね、いいよね、アキト。
I caught a quick glance of Saya, who was sitting by the window staring at the scenery outside and keeping away from the classroom commotion. She had always been a little unapproachable, like she tended to put up walls between herself and others. Sure, sounds good to me.
アキトもこう言ってるし、いいよね。いいけど。
Despite their half-hearted responses, Hikari and I looked at each other with knowing glances. We had predicted this kind of back-and-forth discussion last night, but it seemed that the first step to our grand scheme was a success.
クラスで天体観測会をしたい？
It was lunchtime. After Hikari and I devoured our lunches, we interrupted Miss Saotome's lunch to tell her all about our idea in the hallway.
昨日ちゃんと月が見えたのね。見えたよ。ありがとう先生。すっごく感動したんだ。
Though we lacked the vocabulary to adequately express ourselves, it was easy to tell by our expressions how moving it was for us.
そう、よかったわね。
Miss Saotome replied to Hikari and then turned and smiled gently at me. I felt my cheeks flush, and so I lowered my head to hide my face.
だからね、みんなにも見せてあげたいんだ。そうね。
Miss Saotome once again glanced at my expression. This time it seemed she was a little worried. Since Miss Saotome was our homeroom teacher, I'm sure she noticed that I'd had a hard time fitting in this past month since I transferred schools.
どんな星が見たいか、もう決まっているの？
Alberio! I called out suddenly. I'd really like for everyone to see Alberio. Our teacher looked a little surprised, but she quickly nodded her head in agreement.
いいわ。じゃあ今日の終わりの会でみんなに提案してみましょう。やったー！観測の計画は2人に任せてもいいかしら。計画って何するの？天体はいつでもそこにあるわけじゃないわ。少しずつだけど動いているの。
Hikari nodded her head with an I already knew that expression on her face.
いつどうすればその星が見られるかちゃんと調べておかないといけないわ。できる？
As if on cue, our eyes met in agreement.
やりたい！
Miss Saotome gave us a smile.
よし任せたわよ2人とも。計画ができたら先生にも教えてちょうだい。わかった。
Thank you, Miss Miharu. I called her by her first name without thinking. Though she was slightly taken aback at first, she chuckled.
頑張って。
With that, she gave me an encouraging pat on my shoulder. I felt a gentle and warm feeling bubbling up inside me. It had been a long time since I'd had an adult expect anything like this from me.
行こう、アキト。
Right.
どこ行くの？図書室。
And with that, we took off towards the school library.
こら、廊下は走っちゃダメよ。
At the class meeting, it was decided that we would hold a Stargazers meetup. We'd expected that Takeichi would complain, so it was a good thing we had explained it all to Miss Saotome beforehand. As soon as Miss Saotome said that it was a great idea, the decision was unanimous. We moved on to the planning stage of our event.
おばちゃん！
After school, Hikari took me to a local candy shop on the way home. Next to Mikatsuki Station, there were many small shops that lined the street. The sign of this shop read Saotome.
いらっしゃい、ひかりちゃん。
Calling out to Hikari, a little old stout lady emerged from the back of the shop. A puzzled look crossed her face when she saw me.
見かけない子だね。もしかして君が空見明人くんかい？
Yes. How did she know my name?
みはるから聞いてるよ。ちょっと強情だけど面白い子がクラスに入ったって。
Miharu?
お
Oh,
ばちゃんは早乙女先生のお母さんなんだよ。
this lady is Miss Saotome's...
よく似てるだろ？あの子、私に似て美人だから。
Granny said before letting out a hearty cackle. I could only nod meekly in
い
reply.
つも娘が世話になってるわね。あの子、学校でちゃんとやってるかい？
うん、やってるよ。みんな先生のこと大好きだもん。ね、アキト。
Huh? Oh, yeah. I suddenly blushed and started to fidget.
あのね、アキトはね。
Hikari proceeded to talk the old lady's ear off about various topics.
へえ、そうなのかい。
Granny gave me a deliberately surprised look.
こんな男前、あの子にはもったいないよ。
What did she just say?
いつものやつある？
はいよ、取ってくるから待っといで。
As Granny disappeared into the back, Hikari headed over to a large dog lounging at the side of the shop.
太郎
Brr.
The dog lazily turns its head towards Hikari. So this is Taro? He really was huge. From the looks of him, I was sure that he had German Shepherd blood somewhere in his mutt heritage.
怖くないよ。ほら
To prove her point, Hikari leaned down and gave Taro a big hug.
太郎よしよしあったかい
It sounds like he's growling.
あんまり構いすぎると吠えるんだ。アキトも撫でてやりなよ。
I think I'll pass, thanks. Despite being an old dog, he had a glint to his eyes and an edge to his growl that warned me he was serious. I felt a little sorry for Takeichi after thinking about how he must have apologized to Hikari after she'd thrown his indoor shoes into Taro's doghouse.
ひかりちゃん。
は
はい、これパンの耳。
ーいありがとう。
いつもこんなのもらって帰ってどうするんだい？
ちょっとね
Hikari looked so happy as she took the bag, stuffed full with bread crust from Granny.
それとこれお食べ。
She gave each of us a pork bun.
いいの？
サービスだよ。新しいお客さんを連れてきてくれたからね。その代わりミハルをあんまり困らせないでやっておくれよ。
任せといて。
Hikari answered happily. In reality, the top two troublemakers in our class would have to have been Hikari and Takeichi.
ありがとうおばちゃん。
Thank you very much.
気をつけて帰るんだよ。
得したね。
Yeah. Taking our extra large pork buns with us, we settled ourselves underneath the bridge and cracked open our books. It was a book we had borrowed from the school library during lunch break. And at our feet was... Pooch was happily munching away on the bread crust that Hikari had brought with us. So, at this point I did just quickly mention that Pooch, to clarify for the new people, Pooch is this puppy that our character, Akito, had helped Hikari save when we first met her. The crusts were leftovers from the nearby bakery that Granny Saotome had picked up to give to Hikari. That was how Hikari was able to get food for this little guy.
どう？美味しいでしょ。
Yeah, it's delicious. My expression became serious as I answered. I had eaten pork buns from convenience stores before, but this one was on a whole different level of flavor. It was stuffed full of filling, and when I took a bite, my mouth overflowed with its delicious aroma. It was the first time in my life I had eaten something so delicious. Thoughts like that were overwhelming. And yet I knew that couldn't really be the case. If I had thought about it, Mom's cooking had been really delicious too. It's been a long time since I've enjoyed the taste of food. I just didn't have the luxury of feeling that way. Although now I could say the opposite is true. I thought that as I watched the steam rise from the extra large pork bun.
あった。
Hikari held the open book in her lap. At her exclamation, I looked down at the chart on the page that Hikari had turned to. It showed an illustration of the Cygnus constellation next to real photos of the night sky. Underneath them all was a picture of a set of orange and blue twin stars.
アルビレオって白鳥座のくちばしなんだ。
We had borrowed all the books we could carry related to the stars from the school library. Since we hardly knew anything about the stars or astronomy in general, we had no idea which books we should read.
アルビレオは二重星なんだって。なんだろう、二重星って。
It explains that here. Alberio is a star that appears to be single to the naked eye, but shows two closely nestled stars when viewed through a telescope. These types of astronomical phenomenon are known as double stars. Visual double stars only appear to be double when viewed from Earth, however. The stars are actually nowhere near each other. When the two stars are actually in close proximity, they form what is known as a binary star. Hikari looked up at the sky. Although we really wanted to see what Alberio would look like, we knew the weather had to be clear to do so. Pooch let out a whine and looked up at Hikari, who was engrossed in the diagrams of the book.
もう食べちゃったの？それで全部なんだ。ごめんよ。
I quietly opened my backpack and took out the milk I had inside. I then went to Pooch's makeshift house under the bridge and brought out his food dish. Hikari spoke as I began pouring milk into it.
そのお皿、アキトが持ってきたやつだったんだ。
I felt my face began to flush, though I tried to keep a neutral expression. I don't like milk. Besides, I just wanted to help this little guy out. It's my duty, right? When I found out that Hikari was bringing back food for Pooch, I had been saving milk from my school lunches to give to him. Saying that I hated milk was a lie, by the way. If anything, I actually really loved it. With a happy bark, Pooch began eagerly lapping up the milk from his dish. Hikari laughed at seeing
や
that.
っぱ優しいね、アキトは。初めて会った時から思ってたけどさ。
I don't think that's true. I answered her pretty bluntly, but Hikari laughed like she knew better. I felt giddy as my heart fluttered a bit in my chest. Perhaps the grumpy-looking Taro had also felt this way when Hikari had hugged him. So, Hikari, do you like Night on the Galactic Railroad? Wanting to change the topic, I asked her about something I'd always been curious about. She looked at me as if to ask, how did you know? I overheard you that time when you were talking to Saya. I thought that maybe that was the reason that you were interested in stars or something. I had always wondered what made Hikari so interested in stargazing, and it wouldn't be strange for someone to acquire an interest in stars because they like Night on the Galactic Railroad. It's a story about riding a train that travels across the Milky Way and journeys through the world of constellations. Maybe the reason she knew the star named Alberio is also because of this story. Just like Hikari told Saya, Alberio is a famous star mentioned in Night on the Galactic Railroad. Your dad is a train conductor, right, Hikari? I had overheard someone mention that in a conversation before too. They said he was an employee for the local line. That fact also explained why someone like Hikari, who didn't seem like the bookworm type, would read something like Night on the Galactic Railroad. Hikari? Leaning against the handrail on the bridge, Hikari looked up at the sky as the red hue from the setting sun slowly spread across it. I wondered if I had asked something I shouldn't have. Maybe I had poked my nose too far into her personal business. As I started to worry that I had ruined the mood, Hikari answered me.
昨日、望遠鏡で月を見た時、何を感じた？
Huh? What do you mean?
月に大地があるって分かった時、アキトはどう思った？
When we saw that there was land on the moon, what did I think when I had seen that through the telescope? What did I feel? I was intrigued and very excited, and yet, seeing the landscape beyond the expanse of space, I couldn't help but remember a sadness that gripped my heart. What had I really felt at that time?
私はね、行ってみたいって思った。
Huh?
ここじゃない。どこか遠くの世界。そこには山があって、谷があって、確かな大地があって、 まるで別の世界がそこにあるように感じて行ってみたいって思ったんだ。
Hikari stared longingly at the sky, though her gaze seemed to be fixated on something that lay far beyond the dusky sky. Though it was obscured by a red veil, beyond there stretched the vastness of space, with countless stars that twinkled continuously. Seeing her profile, I felt as though Hikari was far from me, just like I was looking at the surface of the moon through the telescope. Even though I felt as if she were so close, she was still so unfathomably far. Despite appearing to be within my grasp, I couldn't reach her no matter how far I stretched out my arms. Hikari.
どうしたの？
I had unknowingly taken her hand. Hikari looked at me in surprise. It's nothing. I could still feel the warmth from Hikari's hand after I had pulled away. I felt reassured by that fact.
こんなところにカップル発見！
At that moment, I heard the vulgar voice of the person I wanted to see least in the world.
見たぞ！今手繋いでただろ！イエーイ！光と空見はあっちっち！あっちっち！
There was Takeichi and his lackeys spouting their nonsense. Pooch hid himself behind Hikari. He was such a shy dog that he'd hide if he was approached by anyone he wasn't used to.
またあんたたちか。ほんと暇だね。
お前らできてんだろ！
だったらどうだっていうの？
Without thinking, I said the exact same thing at the exact same time as Takeichi. Both Takeichi and I were thrown for a loop by Hikari's audacious attitude.
私たち観測計画を立てなきゃいけなくって忙しいの。邪魔だからあっち行ってよ。
She waved her hand, gesturing as if she were shooing a fly. Hearing Hikari's nonplussed tone, Takeichi returned to his normal self.
俺は観測会なんて認めてねえからな。
だったらなんで終わりの回で言わなかったのよ。
それは
先生に嫌われたくないからでしょ。
違うっつうの。
Takeichi backpedaled as he realized Hikari was a battle lost, then went after his new target, me.
いい気になるなよ、空見。お前が天の川のこと泣かしたの、俺たちは許してねえからな。
Not like I'm really wanting your forgiveness, though.
だと
The one who should forgive me is Saya herself. Takeichi huffed, dissatisfied with my reply.
どうやって許してもらう気だ？土下座でもすんのか？
アルビレオを見せてあげればきっと分かってくれるよ。天体観測会はそのためのものだからね。
Yeah, I agreed wholeheartedly.
なんなんだそのなんとかって。さあ、怪獣の名前だと思う。知ってんだぞ。空見が昨日まで望遠鏡の使い方も知らなかったこと。だっせえな。毎日学校に持ってきて見せびらかしてたくせに。
And as usual, his two lackeys chimed in with echoes of so lame. It was so predictable that it made me wonder if they practiced this routine in their spare time. Acting mature, Hikari let out a purposely loud sigh.
そんなのもう遠い過去の話だよ。タケ、こうしている間にも星は動いているんだよ。
急に難しいこと言うんじゃねえ。こないだ理科のテストで40点だったくせに。
あんたは38点だったでしょうが。
お前らなんかに絶対できね
え。できるよ。
できない。
できる。
できる、できる、できる。絶対にできるんだから。
そうだよね、アキト。
We can do it.
できなくって後で泣いて謝っても許してやんねえからな。
After that last remark, Takeichi left for home with his two minions in tow.
ほんとタケにも困ったもんだよ。でも天体観測会は絶対に成功させなきゃいけないしね。
Yeah, I replied as I recalled an image of Saya sitting in the corner of the classroom, looking disinterestedly out the window. The reason she had cut herself off from the rest of the class is because of me. The day that she had transferred into the class, I made her cry in front of everyone. Because of that, I had created a very awkward situation between her and the rest of the class. I knew that if I could show Alberio to her, it would help to clear up this misunderstanding. Although I wasn't all that sure if it would help her get along with our classmates.
大丈夫。きっとうまくいくよ。
Yeah, you're right. Things have been going really well already. The reason I had involved the class was so that I could force Saya to come. Because even if Hikari or I had invited her out, there was no guarantee that she'd show up. Plus, stargazing can only happen at night, too. So we would need to get her parents' permission for her to come out. But with Miss Aotome around, it became more of a supplementary lesson and getting their permission was easy.
私たち、もう望遠鏡の使い方も知ってるし、余裕だって。
Yeah, but I don't think that's all that matters. When you observe the stars, the weather has to be clear too. Even if you prepare everything perfectly, it won't matter if the sky is cloudy.
そっか。
Then, there's the fact that the two of us don't really know too much about the stars yet. We could still have a few problems. Although we felt like experts on the subject just by borrowing a few books, the reality was that we had only looked at a mere 2 pages from a guidebook. So we need to prepare as much as we can so we'll be ready for anything. We read through the books we borrowed more studiously than we had ever studied for our homework. That night, I got a phone call from Hikari.
大変だよ、アキト。白鳥座って夏の星座なんだって。
Really? If that was the case, then that meant that Alberio, as a part of the Cygnus constellation, would be a summer star too.
どうしよう。
What can we do? In an instant, it seemed like all of our plans were derailed. In the end, it didn't matter that it was a summer constellation. Some constellations are described as belonging to different seasons, like winter constellation or summer constellation. However, that doesn't mean that you can't see them during the other seasons. It just means that the best time to see those is during that particular time of year. Most can actually be seen throughout the year. This fact is especially true with constellations close to the North Star. Those constellations tend to have long periods of visibility and can easily be seen for most of the year. Cygnus, the Swan, was one such constellation. Did you see the weather report?
見た見た。夜までずっと晴れだって。白鳥座は冬でも見られるし、天気予報もバッチリだし、これで勝ったも当然だね。
Hikari said this with an expression bright enough to rival today's sunny weather. Today was the day of the Stargazers meetup. We had already planned things out meticulously and had Miss Aotome review it all for us. All that was left was waiting for night to come.
いよいよ本番か。緊張するな。
In an attempt to ditch us, Saya had thrown on her backpack and was headed for the classroom door.
天の川さん。
Hikari. I interrupted Hikari as she called out to Saya and headed over to Saya myself.
何か用。
Promise you'll come tonight. I'd really like for you to see Alberio. Saya was at a loss for words and averted her eyes. She then outmaneuvered me and left the classroom in a hurry.
ねえ、天の川さんビビってたじゃん。ちゃんと来てくれるかな。
Hikaru was mumbling to herself as we set up the telescope on the rooftop where we'd be observing from.
アキトってさ、ちょっとぶっきらぼうで女子からすると怖いんだよ。もっと爽やかスマイルしなよ。
What about you, Hikari? You also just say whatever you feel like without thinking about how the other person feels. I interrupted you earlier so you wouldn't upset Saya. As I answered her in the exact blunt tone she just warned me about, I remembered the frightened expression on Saya's face and felt a twinge of guilt. I really wanted her to come, which is why I had said something to her, but I think Hikari was right that it might have had the opposite effect. After the telescope was set up, I pointed the lens at a faraway mountain and peered into the eyepiece. The image was blurry. I turned the dial to bring it into focus. The image became clear and appeared upside down in the eyepiece. And that was the reason I had always thought it was broken, but I was wrong. It was normal for telescopes to show an inverted or upside down image. The image flips upside down as it passes through the lens in the optical scopes used to see over distances. Binoculars and spotting scopes use a prism to reorient the image. However, adding the prism takes away from the image quality. The instrument itself becomes heavier and it inevitably costs more money, which is why my telescope had an inverted image. And really, since there is no proper orientation in space, there is no need to correct the inverted image in an astronomical telescope. I set up the This word was getting me a lot when I streamed this the first time, and it's still getting me again. Altazimuth stand, setting the electrical tower at the center of the field of vision. There we go. Next, I looked down the small barrel affixed to the side of the telescope. This cylinder is called a finder, and it's very similar to the sights on a rifle. In telescopes with low magnification, the finder has crosshairs in the center. These crosshairs are used to find what you want to see, such as stars or any other celestial body. Needless to say, it's really difficult to find a tiny point of light quickly in the vast sky with a narrow field of view of a telescope, which is why a finder comes in handy. You use its wide field of view to find your target first. Once you found your target, you then align it with the crosshairs in the center of the finder. If the finder and the telescope are both pointed at the same target, stars in the finder should also show up in the telescope's field of view. But in order to do that, we needed to make sure that the angle of the finder matched the direction of the telescope. Together, these preparatory steps make up the optical lens alignment process. It can't really be done once it's dark, so we made sure to do it while it was still light outside. At that moment, I was attempting to align the optical lens between the finder and the telescope using the electrical tower as a landmark.
Ah, Hita!
Oh yeah, we have to re-meet this character again.
Pikarin!
This character is actually adorable. One of the younger students came bounding up onto the rooftop. The girl's enthusiastic greeting was cut short by an emphatic judo chop to the head.
その名前で呼ぶんじゃない。
Seeing Hikari's hand still threateningly poised for another strike, the girl timidly corrected herself.
ひかりちゃん、どうした？今日5年生みんなで遊ぶって本当？ち。遊ぶんじゃないよ。天体観測会をするんだ。天体観測会？
The little girl's expression turned serious once we affirmed her question.
ねえ、コロナも言っていい？いいでしょ？ねえ。
The little girl pleaded as she clung to Hikari, tugging earnestly on her shirt.
私に言われてもな。
I'm sure it'll be okay if we ask Miss Aotome, right?
誰？
Peeking out halfway behind Hikari, the little girl regarded me warily.
アキトだよ。転校生の。あ、知ってる。お兄ちゃんが言ってた。転校生その1だ。
What was with that nickname?
ちゃんと自己紹介しな。できるでしょ。もう大きいんだから。
Stilled by Hikari's prompting, the little girl faced me and set her posture.
坂部コロナ4年生です。
Kusakabe Corona. Kusakabe? As in that Kusakabe?
そう、だけど妹なんだ。
Yep, so we learned that this Corona character is Takeichi's younger sister, even though I had actually known that early on into episode 1 because following the news for this game, you do learn Corona's full name, and when we learned Takeichi's full name, when he was first introduced in present time, I had already connected the pieces at that moment, but in any case, yes, this is Takeichi's currently the school bully. It's his younger sister. So if I'm going down her route, because early on, I guess, and I'm pretty sure I mentioned this at the start of episode 1, Corona or Saya would have been the two routes I was likely going to go down. So I'm sure if I do end up going down her route, there would be a lot of hilarious events involving Takeichi, but I'll see how things go. You don't say. For some reason, she looked like she was bracing herself for something. I'm Akito Sorami. I'm in the 5th grade. Nice to meet you too, Corona. Remembering that Hikari had scolded me about how I came off as scary and blunt, I made a conscious effort to introduce myself a little more sweetly.
紳士だ。お兄ちゃんと全然違う。
She said as she looked at me with reverence in her eyes. Is she really Takeichi's younger sister?
そうだよ。なんで？
Just that they don't look alike at all. It's hard to believe a kid this cute could actually be his sister. Corona's ears perked up immediately after I'd said that she was cute.
コロナが可愛い。
Is that weird?
よく言われる。お兄ちゃんに全然似てないねって。
I see.
そうだよ、アッキー。
Did she just call me Aki? That is actually adorable though.
アッキーは遠くから来たんでしょ？どこから来たの？東京？ニューヨーク？
The difference. Tokyo, New York.
ほーら、いきなり変なあだ名つけるな。あ、で、ピカリン、ギブギブ。ピカ。
Twist.
そう、ひかりちゃん、ごめんなさい。
Make sure you tell Miss Saotome that you'd like to join us at the Stargazers meetup.
みはるちゃん、私たちの先生をそんな風に呼ぶな。
Twist.
お母さん。まったく、生意気なんだから。
After Hikari let her go, Corona cried out. She said as she rubbed her temples like someone who was trying to ease a migraine. For some reason, it looked like they were having fun.
てか、タケはいいって言ってるの？お兄ちゃんには内緒にする。ダメって言うに決まってるもん。まあ、じゃあタケはいいとして、ちゃんと早乙女先生の許可をもらってから来るんだよ。勝手に来たら追い返すからね。わかった。行ってくる。ありがとう、アッキー、ピカリン。その呼び方やめろー。
She ran off the roof just as quickly as she had come. What an energetic kid. That call's not important. She kinda reminds me of you, Hikari.
どこが？
I refrained from elaborating more since it seemed pretty unexpected to her. I didn't feel like being on the receiving end of one of her noogies. Why does she even want to come to our observation tonight? Does she even like stars?
何やるか分かってないだけだよ。みんなでする遊びに混ぜてほしいんだと思う。4年生は数が少ないから。
There was only one class in each grade at this school. The 5th grade class that Hikari and I were in had 17 people, and we were the largest class in the school. The classes got smaller the younger you went, but the 4th grade class, just 1 year below us, only had 4 kids. If the number of people keeps dropping, the school might be closed.
まあでもその前に亡くなっちゃうかも。
Why's that?
アキト知らないの？ダムのこと。
No, I haven't heard anything. What's this dam?
川にダムを作るかもって話。もうずっと前からあるんだけど、もしそうなったらこの辺り一帯は湖に沈んじゃうんだって。
Even the school? Hikari nodded solemnly. I didn't know. After being handed off to my granddad like unwanted baggage, it was no surprise that I wasn't aware of the town's situation. And with granddad being the silent type, I doubt he would have told me much anyway. I took a good look around at my surroundings from the rooftop. All this would be under a lake. There were paddies, fields, and overgrown empty lots scattered between sporadic trees. Nestled amongst them all were homes and other buildings. It was hard to imagine that everything here would be flooded and disappear beneath the lake created by the dam. Being as new to the town as I was, I couldn't scrape together any feeling of attachment to it. The town wasn't special to me, so it was hard to say I'd be sad to see it go, but I did think that losing the town would be a bit troublesome. I wondered how Hikari must feel. Thinking that, I glanced at her profile, but it was hard to tell from her expression whether she was unhappy or if she didn't care either way.
できた？
Yup, all done. That's the last of the prep work. With the axis of the lens set, telescope setup was complete. We'd also checked the time of viewing, coordinates, and the time that Alberio would set. As long as the good weather held up, it seemed like tonight's observation would go off without a hitch.
それじゃあ帰ろっか。
Yeah. Stargazing would take place at night, so we had decided that everyone should meet up again after going home to have dinner. Night had fallen. Everyone from the 5th grade class gathered in front of the school. Everyone was excited to be out here this late in the evening, and it really felt like we were at a festival. Hikari had arrived. She was happily running over as she usually does, but right behind her was the puppy.
なになに？子犬？わあ、かわいい。
Despite being so happy to follow Hikari, Pooch suddenly became very timid when surrounded by so many unfamiliar faces.
どうかしたの？先生、ひかりちゃんが犬を連れてきちゃったんです。あらあら。
Miss Saotome seemed to be at a loss upon seeing the forlorn look on the puppy's face. I whispered to Hikari, "Why'd you bring him along?"
しょうがないじゃん。来る途中に様子を見に行ったらついてきちゃったんだもん。ひかりちゃんち、犬なんて飼ってたっけ？あのね、この子捨て犬で、今は橋の下で。
Having no choice, Hikari explained the circumstances surrounding her and Pooch to Miss Saotome and the others. During the course of her explanation, the reason my pants had been soaked on the first day I'd transferred in came to light as well. Everyone, including Miss Saotome, looked at me approvingly.
いいでしょ、先生。今日だけ。困ったわね。
Miss Saotome found it hard to be strict after seeing Hikari ask so eagerly, her hands clasped together. The fact that Hikari had just told her how she had saved him wasn't helping either.
今日だけよ。ありがとう、先生。あと、粗相は絶対にさせないこと。その時は掃除してもらいますからね。わかった、する。でも、どうするの？ずっと橋の下に置いておくわけにはいかないでしょ。飼ってくれる人探してるんだけど、なかなかいないんだよね。そうだ、先生んちは犬飼ってるでしょ。うちはダメよ。もう太郎がいるし、とても面倒見きれないわ。そっか。
Hikari hung her head in disappointment. As it stood, Pooch would need some work, since he wasn't used to being pet by anyone and was extremely shy around strangers.
もう全員揃ったかしら。
I counted up everyone who'd gathered so far. Oh yeah, what about that 4th grade girl Corona?
ねえ、タケ、コロナ来てないの？
母ちゃんにダメって言われて、今頃押し入れでいじけてるぞ。
やっぱそうなるか。
What do you mean?
コロナのお母さん、コロナには異常に厳しいから。兄貴があんなだから妹に期待をかけてるみたい。
一言余計なんだよ。
I see. I felt bad for her since it seemed she had really wanted to come. I also really wanted her to see the stars.
あといないのは、そうだ、天の川さん。
Hikari exclaimed as she looked around the crowd. She's not here yet. I became a little worried as I noticed. I hope she didn't decide not to come because of my attitude when asking her about it at lunch.
来るって言ってたよね。
Even though it seemed like the Stargazers meetup was an extracurricular lesson with Miss Saotome here with us, attendance wasn't mandatory. The purpose of the meeting was also properly explained beforehand to the parents and guardians of the students, and Saya did say she'd attend.
待ってよ。
Finally fed up with being fussed about by the girls, Pooch ran off.
こら、どこ行くの？戻ってこーい。アキト、捕まえて。
I was closest to the direction in which he took off, so I chased after him. Wait! Getting lost around these parts at night would be a real pain. As I was frantically chasing after him, Pooch suddenly stopped in his tracks. We unexpectedly ran into Saya, and Pooch had settled at her feet. Saya herself stood still, and for a moment it seemed they were in their own little world, just one dog and one girl. Hiding behind Saya's legs, Pooch let out a frightened whimper.
どうしたの？
At first, Saya was confused by his behavior. She then caught sight of me, the one who had been chasing him. She shot me a hateful glare. Hang on a minute, am I suddenly the bad guy now?
よしよし、もう大丈夫だよ。
Pooch's tail wagged furiously as Saya patted his head.
もうワン吉が懐いてる？美少女だからか？美少女だからなのか？
I seriously doubted that dogs had the same sense of beauty as people did, but it was clear that he had become quite fond of Saya.
おい、さっさと始めろよ。
Takeichi asked in an irritated voice.
早く終わらせて帰りてえよ。
文句言うなら来なきゃよかったじゃん。
お前らがちゃんとできるかどうか見届けてやるためだよ。できなかったら全力で笑ってやっからな。
ふんだ、そんなことにはなりませんよーだ。
お前、何笑ってんだ？
なんでもない。
Takeichi wasn't the only one who was getting tired of waiting around. I took account of everyone. Looks like everyone's here. Hikari turned around to pick up Pooch, but...
かわいいね。よしよし。
He was nestled comfortably in Saya's arms, enjoying the attention. Several of the boys there glared at the puppy enviously.
ちょっと懐きすぎじゃないか。
Guess dogs like cute girls too, huh? Yeah. She buried her fist in my side.
まあいっか。おかげでお姫様もご機嫌みたいだし。
Though I was hunched over in pain, grasping my side, I couldn't help but agree with her. I'm pretty sure that was the first time I had seen Saya in such a great mood.
それじゃあ屋上行くよ。
With Hikari in the lead, all of us made our way up to the roof. When we got up to the roof, the winter stars were twinkling brightly in the clear night sky.
星が綺麗に見えるよ。
Hikari exclaimed happily. There wasn't a single cloud in the sky, and even the night sky felt bright. Where's Cygnus?
ね。あそこ。
There's Cygnus. Sure enough, low in the northwestern sky, I could see the unfurled wings of the swan. Since it's a summer constellation, I figured it would only stay visible for another hour and a half before setting. Following the lines of its head and neck towards the horizon, there at the tip of its beak was Alberio. At first glance, it looked just like any normal single star, but in reality, it was a double star made up of two stars aligned tightly together.
沈んじゃう前に早く見よう。
As we stood there, it seemed like the swan would dive below the horizon at any minute. Despite knowing that we had plenty of time to spare, I still felt like we needed to hurry. I went to go grab the telescope we'd prepared and left here that afternoon. What the?
どうしたの？
It's not here. Hikari cocked her head to one side in confusion. In shock, I reiterated. My telescope. It's not here. I had left my telescope near the entrance to the roof with the optical lens already set up for tonight. But I couldn't find it anywhere.
帰るときここに置いてたよね。
Yeah.
どうしたの？ああ、先生。ここに置いてた望遠鏡がなくなってるの。なんですって？誰かが片付けちゃったのかな。他の先生にも今夜の観測会のことは伝えてあるから知らずに触るってことはないと思うんだけど。本当にここに置いていたの？
Yes. If it had been put back in its case, all the effort I'd gone through to set up the optical lens would have been for nothing. I thought it would be okay to leave it here since most of the students had already gone home from school and hardly anyone comes up here.
一度職員室を見てくるわね。あなたたちはこの辺りを探してみて。
Okay, thanks, Miss Saotome. I was careless. It's not like it was guaranteed that no one would come up here. I split up from Hikari and scoured the nearby area once again. But I found nothing. How could that be? It's not like it would be easy to hide something that big. I heard Hikari yell.
あったよ、アキト。足だけ。
The tripod and stand had been folded up and laid on the ground in an obscure corner. But still, the all-important telescope was nowhere to be found. Someone had deliberately taken only the telescope.
やっぱり誰かが持ってっちゃったんだ。どうしたの、ひかりちゃん。始めないの？それが。
We can't find the telescope anywhere. Hearing the bitterness in my tone, a wave of unease spread amongst my classmates that had gathered around. Saya, who had been standing apart from the group holding Pooch, also noticed the change in the mood and glanced over.
ん？どうしたんだ？
なんか望遠鏡がなくなったって言ってる。
はあ？なんだそれ。あんなでかいものどうやったらなくすんだよ。
So if that wasn't making it obvious, I'm sure that it is now.
さっきから何笑ってんだよ、お前。気持ち悪いな。タケ、まさかあんたの仕業じゃないでしょうね。
はあ？なんでもかんでも俺のせいにしてんじゃねえよ。
Takeichi wasn't even the one who hit it. It was like it should have at least left you with a relatively suspicious feeling when only underling B had been snickering the whole time, and it seems like the underling A and Takeichi just have no idea why he's been snickering. So it was around this point where I pointed it out before.
こないだも絡んできてたじゃん。天体観測なんかできっこないとか言って。
そうだっけ？
Takeichi retorted in an exasperated tone. It looked like he was trying to play it off, but it felt like he really didn't know anything about my telescope. There's no proof that he did it. He really might not know either.
でも。
なあ、もう帰っていいか？望遠鏡ないんだったら観測会なんかできねえだろ。寒いよ。
Hearing Takeichi's complaint, the few classmates began murmuring in agreement. Although some of them had been looking forward to tonight's observation, not everyone was. A lot of them came just because it was something that we had decided to do as a class and Miss Saotome had approved it. I tried to quietly make my way off the roof.
アキトは
I'm going to look for it.
私も行く。
お前らどこ行くんだよ。
探しに行くの、望遠鏡は。
じゃあ俺帰ろっと。
なんでよ、探してくるって言ってるじゃない。待ってなさいよ。
だって寒いし。
I'm sure Takeichi's complaint spoke for the rest of our classmates who weren't that enthusiastic about tonight. I spoke to Hikari. I'm sure everyone will leave if the both of us go to look for it.
そうかも。
You should stay here, Hikari. I know everyone will stay and listen if it's you. I doubted anyone would stick around for a poorly adjusted transfer student like me.
わかった。
Hikari reluctantly agreed with me. Alberio will set at around 9:30 p.m. I'll be back before then. I had a little over an hour to search. Takeichi smirked when he overheard me.
もし空見が間に合わなかったらどうするんだ。
その時は裸で寒中水泳でも何でもやってやるわよ。
面白そうじゃねえか。約束だぞ。
Hikari,
言っちゃった。アキト、見つけてきて。望遠鏡は学校の中にあるはずだから。
gotcha. I'll definitely find it. I reassured Hikari and glanced over to Saya. Though Saya was regarding me with an anxious expression, she averted her eyes in embarrassment when our eyes met. I'll be back. I left the roof in a rush. First, I scoured every inch of the school building. The classrooms were locked and so no one could get into them. If my telescope was somewhere in the school, then it would have to be in the hallways or even in the boys' restroom. I searched every room I could enter, but I still couldn't find my telescope.
空見くん？
Oh, Miss Saotome, my telescope, did you... Miss Saotome shook her head.
職員室にもなかったわ。
Oh, okay. Which meant that Takeichi and his lackeys had probably hidden it. I will keep looking for it, so if it's okay, could you ask everyone to wait just a bit more?
ええ、それはいいけど。
Miss Saotome glanced at the clock. I will definitely be back before Alberio sets. I reassured her as I took off running. I searched every place in the school I could get into, but I still couldn't find my telescope. I went out into the schoolyard and looked in the physical education storage shed. This is where Takeichi had hidden my indoor shoes before. No. It's not here. I looked up at the sky. The positions of the stars were slightly different from before. Even though it happened slowly, the heavens were really revolving. I had wasted a lot of time. If I didn't find this telescope and return to the roof soon, I wouldn't be able to show Saya the twin stars of Alberio. I was sure I wouldn't get another chance. In order for the students to stay this late for activities, the teacher has to get approval from the students' parents. If tonight's stargazing ended in failure, and we did try again, I was sure that less than half the students would show up. And I wasn't certain we'd be able to get Miss Saotome's help either. Riled up with impatience and anger, I tried to cool my head with the crisp night air. If it was Takeichi who hid it, then he wouldn't do something like throw it away. When he'd taken my indoor shoes, they were still clean when I found them. I was pretty sure he wouldn't do something like deface or break something as expensive as a telescope either. That's why I thought for sure that I'd find it somewhere in the school, but it seemed I'd thought wrong. Judging from his behavior earlier, it was likely that he really had nothing to do with this situation too. If that was the case, there would be no point in looking in places that Takeichi would likely hide it either. The school grounds were extensive. With it being dark as well, it would be very easy to overlook the telescope. Still, I psyched myself up and continued my search for the telescope.
おい、大ごとになってるじゃないか。どうすんだよ。
だってたけちゃんが喜ぶと思ったから。
And there's a confirmation. Underling B had acted on his own and hid the telescope himself, thinking that Take would find it funny.
おい、どうしたんだ？
Take had completely no idea.
あ、たけちゃん、こいつ、おい、自分で言えよ。
実はね、たけちゃん、俺、
なんだって？
ごめん、たけちゃん。空見を困らせたら、たけちゃんが喜ぶと思って。
先生に言いつけられたら絶対に怒られるぞ。もし壊したりしてたら弁償だ。
どうしよう、たけちゃん。
心配すんな。俺がやったことにしてやるから。でもそれじゃたけちゃんが
Aww.
犯人はこいつで俺じゃないって言ったところで今さら誰も信じねえだろ。それに実際俺がやらせたようなもんじゃねえかなあ。
たけちゃん。
あん
He's
たた
not
ち
that bad.
さっきから何こそこそ話してるの？
別にこそこそなんかしてねえよ。あー楽しみだな、光の寒中水泳。
もしアキトが間に合ったらあんたにやってもらうからね。
いいぜ、やってやら。
泳げないくせによっぽど隠し場所に自信があるんだ。一つ言っとくけど、
なんだよ。
望遠鏡を隠したことはすっごい腹立つけど、いつものいたずらで済ませてやってもいいけど、もし傷つけたり壊したりしてたらただじゃ済まさないからね。
空見のことになるとムキになりやがって。やっぱお前らできてんだろ。できてんだろ。
そんなんじゃない。あの天体望遠鏡はね、アキトのお父さんの形見なんだよ。あれをなくしちゃったらアキトにはもう何も残ってないんだ。お父さんやお母さんと一緒に過ごした頃の思い出が全部なくなっちゃうんだ。
なんだよそれ。知らねえよそんなの。
There was a limit to how long a single person could last searching the entire grounds of a large school. I checked every possible place that looked as if it would hide something as long and narrow as my telescope. The bushes, the physical education storehouse, but it was nowhere to be found. There was a possibility that it could have been in a locked classroom. Since Takeichi's gang most likely hid the telescope after school, it was an entirely believable scenario. But if that's the case, I won't be able to get it until morning. No, wait. Wouldn't it be better to ask Miss Saotome if she could unlock the doors for me? Or better yet, shouldn't I just tell Miss Saotome everything? I'm sure it'd be fine to tell her about everything that had happened. But that was the last thing I wanted to do. I felt like I'd be playing right into their harassment. And I had no proof either. There was still a chance someone else had done this too. Overwhelmed by impatience, I had looked up at the sky. Only 30 minutes remained until Alberio would set. I heard a puppy bark. A small shadow came running from a distance. Pooch? Pooch was scampering around my feet. Saya had been following after Pooch. Saya. As I unexpectedly came out of the shadows, Saya let out a shriek as if she'd seen a ghost. Seemingly embarrassed by her outburst, she clamped her mouth shut with both her hands, her cheeks turning pink. What is it? Jeez. Get out of here, I'm a little busy right now. Saya called Pooch back to her, keeping her distance from me as if she were afraid. After weighing his options between me and Saya, Pooch took off in a completely different direction from either of us. Saya ran after him. I had no intention of being distracted by Pooch, so I decided to leave him to Saya. I guess if it's not around here, I'll tell Miss Saotome and ask her to open the classroom for me. What's with the noise? Saya had stopped in her tracks and was looking at something. She then turned towards me and looked as if she wanted to tell me something. What's the matter? Reluctantly, I headed to where she stood. Saya and Pooch were standing at the roots of a really large tree. She mumbled at me as she pointed upwards. Ah! There, caught in the branches, was something white and cylindrical. My telescope! I owe you one, Pooch. Thank you, Saya.
私は別に
She took a step back from me as she muttered, I need to find a way up. As I looked around, Saya silently took off running somewhere. She came back after a bit with an empty plastic bucket. Thanks! I hurriedly stepped onto the bucket and reached up, but it was still beyond my grasp. And so I started climbing up the tree trunk.
大丈夫
I'll be fine, I'm really good at climbing trees. I told her confidently as I scaled higher towards my goal.
寒いよもう帰ろうよでも草壁くんたちまだ帰らないって言ってるし
Let's go.
アキト早くアルビレオが沈んじゃうよみんな温かい紅茶が入ったわよわあほうき星さんみんなに配るのを手伝ってくれないかしらあはいみんな寒いだろうけどもう少しだけ辛抱しましょうねはーいじゃあもうちょっとだけ
空見のやつ戻ってくるかな。
さあな。でももし間に合ったらタケちゃんが寒中水泳しなきゃいけなくなるぞ。
そんなのダメだよ。
紅茶うめえ。何してんだ？お前らももらってこいよ。ああ。
Once I retrieved the telescope, I ran back to the roof. After that, Pooch and Saya followed behind. Just a bit more, come on!
あ、来た。
本当に戻ってきやがった。
Takeichi's minions were waiting right at the top of the stairs to the
こ
roof.
こは通さないぞ。
ぞ。
I stopped to catch my breath. Move it!
やだね。
どいたらタケちゃんが寒中水泳しなきゃいけなくなるからダメだ。
Seemed like they wouldn't be letting me through to the roof no matter how long I waited. Just to let you guys know, I won't hold back.
お前なんか怖くないぞ。
そうだぞ。
Even if it was 2 against 1, I didn't plan on losing to these idiots. But I had the telescope too. I wouldn't be able to go all out while holding this. Moreover, if I did act and someone got injured, that would be the end of any more Stargazers meetups. Miss Aotoe would probably get in trouble too. The minions picked up on this weakness and became more confident.
あいつの望遠鏡を取り上げろ。
Stop! Let go!
追い詰めよ。
俺が抑えてるからその間に行け。
You jerks! Well, I guess it was time to go all out. Besides, they were the ones in the wrong. Surely the grown-ups would understand. I had to protect the telescopes at all costs. It was the last piece of my memories. Just then... A voice that could pierce through your eardrums echoed through the corridor. Takeichi's minions and I all stopped moving and covered our ears.
その天体望遠鏡は大切なものなの お父さんのだから
Slowly, tears gathered in Saya's eyes. Was she going to cry? Me and the other two guys thought so. But Saya held back her tears.
ひどいことしないで
I was moved to tears myself. Those jewel-like blue and orange eyes kept their steady gaze on Takeichi's lackeys, leaving them motionless.
俺たち別に
タケちゃんのために
Saya gathered all of her strength and stared them down. Pooch came like reinforcements and began to bark. The minions looked away as they backed up and then let me through. Thanks, Saya. I held my hand out to Saya. Come on, let's go. She took my hand timidly, and together we ran up the stairs to the roof. After getting back to the roof, Hikari and I wasted no time with chit-chat and quickly set up the telescope and tripod. After a bit of difficulty, we got it mounted and turned the lens towards the west-northwest sky. We're Cygnus. However, I'd found Cygnus, but I couldn't find its key feature, the beak. Where's Alberio?
アルビレオはもう
Hikari said apologetically. I checked my watch. No way! I thought we still had time before it set. Based on my calculations earlier, we should have made it in time. Why can't we see it? But without an explanation from anyone, I soon realized there was a mountain in that west-northwest corner. Since Mikatsuki Village was in a valley, you couldn't see the horizon, not even from the school's roof. Since the time I had calculated earlier was only for the horizon, if there was anything to block the view of the horizon, Alberio would be hidden from view. Cygnus's beak had already flown into the far edge of the night. I can't believe it. I fell to my knees, stunned.
ねえもう見れないのせっかく待ってたのに
I heard everyone sigh and voice their disappointment.
やっぱ嘘つきじゃねえか。待ってて損したぜ。
Even Takeichi, who should have sounded more triumphant, spoke with guilt in his voice. After we had worked so hard, after all the preparations Hikari and I went through, even tracking down the telescope, we had been so very close.
間に合わなかったの
Saya posed her question very quietly. Sorry, I answered weakly. I had promised to show her.
もっと高いところないかなそこからならまだ見えるはずだよ
It's impossible. It'll have already set by the time we get there. If we were to search from the top of the mountain blocking Alberio, we'd probably see it. But by the time we got to the summit, it would have sunk far below the horizon. I stood and faced the other students with my head bowed. We won't be able to see Alberio. I'm so sorry to have wasted your time. I could show them the stars in the sky now, or the ones that would be rising soon. But I wouldn't be able to bring back a star that had moved on. Perhaps another day. I said in an attempt to salvage the situation, but I could feel my eyes burning. I knew it was surely impossible now. No one would show after a disaster like this. I fought bitterly to hold back my tears. It was so frustrating to have days of preparation and anticipation all come to nothing. Just when those bitter tears had begun to fall.
冬のアルビレオならどうかしら
I lifted my head after Miss Saotome, who had been quietly watching the scene unfold, finally spoke.
冬のアルビレオ
What the heck was that? Our teacher looked at everyone before nodding once.
夏の星座である白鳥座が沈むのと入れ替わるように昇ってくる星座があるわ。
The teacher gazed at the sky in the opposite direction of the west-northwest area we were all facing. There sat the entrance of the valley, a V-shaped crevice that opened all the way through to the horizon. From this crevice, a bright first-magnitude star could be seen starting its journey toward the heavens, although it was very close to the horizon. It was the brightest star in the sky, Sirius. Other stars came together with Sirius to create the constellation
冬の星座、大犬座よ。
Canis Major. Canis Major? But I'd never heard of such a star in the Canis Major. It certainly wasn't in the textbook. Miss Saotome, what's the winter alberio?
空見くん、ほうき星さん、いらっしゃい。
The teacher called us over to the southeast edge of the roof.
この辺りがいいわ。望遠鏡をここに。
I set up the telescope according to the directions I had been given.
ほうき星さんと、そうね。天の川さん。
Saya jumped at having her name called
温
suddenly.
かい紅茶をもう一杯入れてきましょうか。はい。みんな、あと少しだけ待ってもらっていいかしら。冬の夜空で先生が一番好きな星をみんなに見せてあげたいの。
The attitude of the cold and disinterested students who were on the verge of heading home changed a bit after hearing the teacher's words.
先生が一番好きな星なんだって。見てみたいね。星が昇ってくるまでもうしばらくかかるから校舎の中で待ちましょう。
I'll stay here, Miss Saotome. If there are any more preparations to be made, I wanted to get them done.
焦ることはないわ。寒かったでしょう。一緒に温まりましょう。
Following the teacher's instructions, everyone headed inside the school and had some of the hot tea that had been prepared by Hikari and Saya. And as we all waited to warm up, Miss Saotome talked to us about the stars. We listened to the adventures of the hero Perseus and the romantic tale of Andromeda. We also heard tales of the hunter Orion and his hound, and other interesting myths and legends related to the constellations. Even though it's not a constellation, we also talked about the story Night on the Galactic Railroad. That's when Hikari surprised everyone by reciting a verse from the story. Thanks to them, we were able to pass the time and everyone forgot about being bored.
そろそろいい頃だわ。
Miss Saotome said after she checked her watch. She then took us back to the roof and led us toward the starry sky. As we reached the roof, students looked up at the night sky with much more excitement than they'd previously had.
さあ、さっき話した星座はどこにあるでしょうか。
They all tried their hardest to find stars and name the constellation.
あれじゃないかな。ほら、あの星と、あっちと、全然わかんないよ、先生。
Perhaps this was expected because Miss Saotome just laughed a little.
じゃあ、これから冬の星の目印をみんなに教えるわ。冬の大三角を覚えているかしら。授業で習ったはずなんだけど。
There were a few raised hands throughout the students, but for the most part, everyone didn't seem too confident. Maybe some of us could remember what we had learned in class. However, I don't think many of us had had a chance to actually look for the stars in the sky
オ
yet.
リオン座がどれかわかる人いる？はい。
One of Takeichi's minions quickly raised his hand.
はい、水原くん。あれ？
He just pointed in the general direction of the southeastern sky, but the teacher nodded anyway.
正解よ。ちぇ、私だって知ってるのに。
Hikari said to Takeichi's lackey, regretfully, as she had hesitated to raise her own hand. Orion.
オリオン座は全ての星座の中で最も形が整っている星座と言われているわ。それに明るい星が多いから比較的見つけやすい星座でもあるの。だからオリオン座を目印にして覚えましょうか。
Everyone gazed up at the Orion constellation.
オリオン座の左肩の赤い星、あれはベテルギウスという星よ。ベテルギウスは不思議な星で、5年半くらいの周期で明るくなったり少し暗くなったりするの。どうしてだかわかる？お月様みたいに欠けたりするから？いい答えね。でも違うわ。セラミくん、わかるかしら？
Because it's getting larger and smaller. The teacher smiled sweetly and nodded her head.
その通りよ。え、どういうこと？あの星、大きさが変わるの？ベテルギウスは大きく膨らんだり小さく縮んだりしているの。そのせいで地球からは明るくなったり暗くなったりしているように見えるのよ。
The students all exclaimed in admiration.
それだけじゃないわ。あの星は実はもう爆発してなくなってるっていう研究者もいるのよ。嘘だ。だってあるじゃん、あそこに。
Some of the more very interesting tidbits of astronomy that I'm glad they touched on is essentially this. Like, this is something I didn't even know until a number of years ago, around my college years, because I took an astronomy class. The teacher just smiled, as if she had been expecting that reaction.
地球からベテルギウスまでの距離はおよそ642光年。じゃあ今私たちが見ているあのベテルギウスはいつの姿なのかしら？
Even now, it's like super hard to put into words, but the amount of time that it takes for the light from the stars from where they are in space to reach human eyes is literally based on how many light years away it is. So, a star that could have already exploded by now, it would take several hundred years for, like, again, based on how far away it is, how many light years away, for us to see exactly like that star exploding. And when we see the stars at night, we're not seeing them as they currently are. We're seeing the light that's finally reaching our eyes, and it could be like several hundreds of years ago, which in my mind, that is just so intriguing. Definitely one of my more favorite things to learn about in terms of astronomy.
どういうこと？わかんない。今の姿じゃないの
？The teacher smiles brightly toward Saya, who had answered in a tiny, weak voice.
その通り。1光年は光の速さで進んで1年かかる距離だから、642光年先にある星の光が地球に届くまでおよそ642年かかることになるの。
And so... Oh, alright. I made that mistake before as well, but... It will take 642 years to reach Europe. Exactly what I was trying to put into words. Again, it's just very difficult to actually put it into words properly.
だからあれはうんと昔のベテルギウスなんだ。ベテルギウスだけじゃないわ。太陽系より外の星々はどれもうんと遠くにある。地球に光が届くまでに何年もかかるから、私たちがこうして見られる星の姿はみんなと昔の姿なのよ。
All of the students nodded their heads as they listened, though probably no one actually understood
ということは
that maybe Betelgeuse had already vanished. The teacher nodded. The Betelgeuse that we all see is actually how the star looked 642 years ago. If we wanted to see what Betelgeuse looks like right now, we'd still need to wait 642 years. And during that time, if the star were to go supernova and be destroyed, we wouldn't even know until far into the future.
ベテルギウスがいつ夜空から消えてしまうかわからない。今日か明日か来月か来年かもっとずっと未来か。
Everyone watched Alpha Auri of the Orion constellation Betelgeuse with serious expressions. It may even be exploding right now. My heart began to pound at the
ベ
possibility.
テルギウスが消滅するとき、その最後の光が地球に届くと、あの星が昼間でも見えるくらい明るく光り輝くって言われてるの。もしかしたらその光をあなたたちがその目で見る日が来るかもしれないわね。
すっげー。
おー、でもそしたらベテルギウスなくなっちゃうんでしょ。やだな、そんなの。
The boys looked forward to the star's destruction while the girls mourned its loss. I stopped to consider each experience and looked up at the expected old stars.
ベテルギウスから今だと左斜め下へ行ったところにもう一つ明るい星が見えるかしら。
Everyone tried their best to find
あっ
it.
た、あれだ。
違うよ、遠すぎるだろ。
みんな見つかったかしら。
A yes could be heard here and there from the students.
あの星はプロキオン、
Procyon.
子犬座の星よ。
Canis Minor. Procyon. Everyone laughed gleefully at the appropriate timing of Pooch's
そ
bark.
してその二つの間を下へ降りていったところにとっても明るい星があるわね。
There, that's the Winter Triangle. It was a star that was so bright you didn't need to search for
あ
it.
れがシリウス、
Shit.
すべての星の中で一番明るい星よ。
With an apparent visual magnitude of close to -1.5, it's the brightest star in the heavens. Aside from our Sun, Jupiter, Mars, and other bodies in our solar system, it's the brightest star in the night sky.
その三つの星を結んで冬の大三角というのよ。
The Winter Triangle.
この明るい三つの星が冬の星空の目印になるの。そのシリウスがあるのが大犬座、子犬座と大犬座とオリオン座。何か思い出さない？
Ryan. Canis.
さっき話してたやつだ。
The teacher nodded with an expression that said, "Very well done."
大犬座と子犬座は狩人オリオンの猟犬だって言われているの。
The students all exclaimed in admiration again. I finally realized that Miss Saotome had told us stories about the legend of Orion so that we would be interested in the Winter
こ
Triangle.
れから見る冬のアルビレオはあの大犬座のすぐ近くにあるの。空見くん、望遠鏡の準備はいいかしら。
Yes, ma'am. I'm not sure why I answered her so nervously.
経緯台で見つけるにはちょっとコツがいるのよ。いい？まずは大犬座の後ろ足から。
The teacher guided the hand that I had on the Altazimith mount and tilted the telescope. She placed her cheek right next to mine and we took turns peeking through the telescope.
そこから2つの星を結んだのと同じ距離を延長したところに
Equal to the distance between two stars. Miss Saotome peeked through the telescope.
ほら、あったわ。
The teacher stopped the small handle of the Altazimuth mound.
どうしたの空見くん。
The teacher looked at me curiously. We had finally found the star, but I wasn't moving to look through the telescope. Well, I want Saya to look first. After saying that, I stepped aside.
おいでよ。遠慮しないでさ。
Hikari pulled the bashful Saya forward. With everyone looking on, Saya became nervous.
私からでいいの？
Yeah, we made a promise after all.
ハートがつっかえてんだから、早く早く。
Urged forward by Hikari, Saya bent over the telescope. She very timidly looked through the lens of the telescope. Her long hair cascaded forward.
どう？何か見える？どうなの？ねえってば。
After Hikari voiced her impatience, Saya murmured a few words.
これがアルビレオ。冬のアルビレオ。そう呼ばれている星よ。綺麗。
Saya stood for a long moment in complete silence, holding her breath as she continued looking through the telescope. Everyone else held back their own breaths as they watched over her.
あ、そんなに綺麗なの？私も早く見たいよ。
After a short while more, Saya gathered some of her fallen hair behind one ear and pulled away from the telescope with a small, soft sigh.
次私！あー、ずるいひかりちゃん。
Hikari impatiently dove toward the telescope.
ほんとだ。アルビレオによく似てる。
After careful observation, Hikari turned to me and grinned.
秋田、綺麗だよ、すごく。
Afterward, the students lined up and, one by one, looked through the telescope. Halfway through the line, Miss Saotome realigned the Altazimuth mount to match the star's new position in the sky that had changed with time. Everyone had their chance to look through the telescope.
秋田も見なよ。
Sure. After taking a deep breath, I slowly leaned over the telescope. So much had happened up until this point, my chest felt like it would burst. And now, the star shown at the end of the telescope was a star I didn't even know. I was a bit scared to even look. Many stars could be seen in the midst of that round viewfinder. Right in the middle were two stars cuddled close together, just like a set of twins. So this is the Winter Alberio, a double star system made up of a clear blue star and a bright orange star. They were quite simple to look at, but beautiful stars nonetheless, especially because the light from those two stars beautifully resembled Saya's eyes.
大犬座145番線。通称冬のアルビレオ。白鳥座のアルビレオと違ってそれほど知られていない星なの。だけど先生はこの星が好きだわ。つつましく、それでいてまっすぐに感じるもの。冬の星空で一番好きな星よ。
Miss Saotome faced the students and Saya as she spoke those words. In spite of her flushed expression, Saya gazed idly at the teacher as all the students looked at her eyes enviously.
天の川さんの目ってあの星みたいで綺麗だね。いいなぁ。
As she noticed everyone watching her, Saya awkwardly hung her head and turned away. I just continued gazing through the telescope as the exchange went on next to me. To the naked eye, the Winter Alberio was so dark that it only looked like a tiny dot, but when viewed through a telescope, its prominent colors become much clearer. Suddenly, my father's words rang through my ears. Don't fear the darkness, because though the night is dark, the stars shine dazzlingly bright. After all the good and bad times, irritation and frustration, after giving up on it all, everything in front of me became dark. But to think that the star I saw before me was this bright. The reason that I can feel the strength of this star's light is all thanks to the darkness. Stars are really beautiful, huh? The words tumbled from my mouth as I recalled the time when my father and I had gazed up at Alberio. It felt just like this. That forgotten, idyllic memory filled my empty chest with such warmth.
Demo それ本物のあるなんとかじゃないんだろ。
何が言いたいのさ。
だったらたけちゃんの勝ちってことじゃ。
そうだよな。だからたけちゃんは賭けに負けてなんてないよな。
はい？あんたら今見たでしょうに。綺麗だったでしょ、冬のアルビレオ。
そうなんだけど。でもお前らやめとけ。
たけちゃん、
俺の負けだ。じゃないと俺の格好がつかないだろうが。
It's fine. We lost this time.
何言い出すのさ、アキト。
It's fine. I'll take care of the penalty game. I said, feeling completely at peace as I looked at Ikari and Takeichi's astonished expressions.
罰ゲーム？なんでもないの先生、こっちのことだから。ほら、アキトもバカなこと言わないでさ。
そうだぜ、空見。かっこつけてんじゃねえよ。
I ignored Hikari and the fussy winner Takeichi and called out to the other students. Everyone's already had a look, right? I'm gonna put away the telescope now.
そうね。もう遅いし、今日はおしまいにしましょうか。
As the teacher spoke, everyone seemed to immediately recall the cold and left the rooftop one after another.
空見のやつ、何考えてんだ。どうせ口だけだよ。
そうだ、できっこないって。
Takeichi and his lackeys voiced their suspicion of my words as they entered the school.
アキト、片付け手伝うよ。
Saya seemed like she was about to say something, but once Hikari showed up, she ran away.
どうしたの？
No, nothing in particular. I knew she had wanted to say something, but after seeing the twin stars, I couldn't focus on anything else.
本気でやる気じゃないよね。罰ゲーム。
We'll see. As I tried to avoid the question, Hikari grumbled as she looked at me incredulously before breaking out into a big smile.
やったね。大成功じゃん。
A huge success, huh?
だってみんな綺麗って言ってくれたじゃん。天の川さんも感動してくれたみたいだったし、終わりよければ全てよしってね。
Yeah, that's true. And with that, we had overcome many obstacles to end our first Stargazers meetup in peace. We didn't have school the next day, and I kept my promise and went through with the penalty game. Sploosh. After swimming to the opposite side of the river and back, Takeichi seemed to be at a loss for words.
あいつ、すげえ。
寒そう。
アキト、大丈夫なの？
Yeah, I'm fine. I tried my best to look unconcerned as my teeth chattered and Hikari ran up next to me. My lips were probably blue.
早く体拭いて。
I took the towel from Hikari and began drying off. But with only my upper body naked and my pants still on, drying off would be impossible. So, I did it. I looked at them with an expression that dared Takeichi and his lackeys to complain.
おお。
I felt a little better as I looked at the speechless Takeichi and his goons.
無茶しすぎだよ、バカバカ。
Sorry. After apologizing to Hikari, I took back my shirt and jacket, and I planned to go out in style with my jacket laid across my shoulders. And that's when...
あなたたち、何をやっているの？
やべ、先生だ。
Then, Miss Saotomi appeared, seemingly well aware of the situation and quite angry. And next to her, there was Saya. It was apparent that she had already spoken with the teacher.
本当にあなたたちはいつもいつも問題ばかり。
Sorry.
ごめんなさい。ごめんなさい。お説教は後よ。空見くん、いらっしゃい。
Holding back her anger for now, Miss Saotome grabbed my hand and began walking. I was really impressed with how well she kept her anger in check. Miss Saotome took me to her house and threw me into the bath, already filled with hot water.
しっかり温まってくるのよ。100数えるまで出てはダメですからね。
As I began to feel the warmth take over my frozen body in the bath, I murmured to myself, at least it's all over now. These past few days really were a lot of fun. I had looked up a lot of information on stars while working together with Hikari on this stargazing meetup. Celestial objects and the cosmos, it was all such a different world from the one I'd known until now. Learning about the mechanisms of the vastness of space was a lot of fun. I studied telescopes and was happy that I was slowly learning how to use them too. More than anything, looking through the lens at real stars was the most exciting. I had done everything together with Hikari. It was just so much fun to nurture a new fascination with someone else. I was happy that I'd been able to share that enjoyment together with someone. But now it was over. Unlike me, Hikari was really popular in our class and had a lot of friends. She even said that she was the type to get bored easily. You could tell that just by looking at her. I was sure that the Night on the Galactic Railroad girl was satisfied now that she'd seen the Winter Alberio.
月に大地があるって分かった時、アキトはどう思った？私はね、行ってみたいって思った。ここじゃない、どこか遠くの世界。そこには山があって谷があって確かな大地があって、まるで別の世界がそこにあるように感じて、行ってみたいって思ったんだ。
Somewhere far from here? Where would I want to go? Up until now, I didn't want to go anywhere. After losing my parents, I didn't enjoy anything. I had always thought nothing would ever be fun again, so to feel enjoyment again. I was just so lonely because I know I could never go back to what had been lost. Sorry for making you worry so much. I had my hair dried thoroughly with a dryer and was even lent some clothes. After which I was given a scolding that was even more thorough than the hair drying. When I was finally released, it was already dusk.
アキト！
Hikari. Hikari was in front of the small candy store. You waited for me?
だって私の代わりに罰ゲームやってくれたんじゃん。
Well, I said that I would. Besides, I was the one that didn't make it in time. That's how I answered, but that wasn't how I felt. Simply put, all our fun times would soon be over and I was bitter. I was in despair. On top of that, she watched me get bullied by Takeichi and the others. Though, just remembering their faces after I got out of the river filled me with intense satisfaction. Hikari watched with a silly, pseudo-angry expression.
またぶっきらぼうしてる。そんなんじゃお姫様に怖がられちゃうよ。よしよし、いい子だね。
Saya and Pooch.
ワン吉じゃもうないんだよ。ねえ、天の川さん。
Saya nodded her head.
小太郎ちゃん。
Kotaro? Pooch or actually Kotaro? I'm pretty sure I screenshot that already. Pooch, well, Kotaro answered happily.
太郎の子供だから小太郎。
Brr.
Taro, lying in front of the kennel, answered reluctantly. So, you guys decided to give him to Miss Saotome.
うん。最初ダメって言ってたんだけど、太郎が小太郎を気に入っちゃったみたいで、小太郎を連れてこうとしたら小屋の中にかくまって出てこなくなっちゃったの。小太郎ちゃんも太郎ちゃんに懐いてるみたい。
tiny Kotaro frolicked around Big Taro and he looked a bit
だ
annoyed.
から厳密に言うと先生じゃなく太郎が引き取ってくれたってわけ。
Ah, well, I'm glad he found a place to live. I felt relieved, but also a little lonely. The Stargazers meetup was over, and now the stray dog had found its home. Another link between Hikari and I gone. Worrying over it won't help anyone, though. As I got ready to leave, Saya, who had been busy petting Kotaro's head, suddenly stood up.
私空見くんに謝らないといけない。自己紹介の時急に泣き出したりしてごめんなさい。
You don't need to apologize. I'm the one that hurt your feelings.
違うの、私が勘違いしてて。
It's fine. Ah, my goodness. What is this? Unknown name? Okay. It's fine. I was the one that created the misunderstanding anyway.
アキト、
Hikari poked me in my side. It actually hurt a bit. Now what is it?
黙って天の川さんの話を聞け。
Okay. I stopped talking. And when I did, Saya, with nervous expression and all, began to open up little by little.
前の学校にいた時、私この目のせいでずっとからかわれたりいじめられたりして自分でも嫌で、だってみんなと違うから、だから隠したくて。
Is that why you were wearing sunglasses? So it had nothing to do with our inner city high fashion.
でも先生が外しなさいって言うから仕方なく外したら、そしたら
Your eyes look like Alberio!
怪獣みたいだって言われたんだと思ったの。
It wasn't just a simple misunderstanding. It must be really frustrating to have someone you're meeting for the first time mention the eye colors you've had a complex about your whole life. And in front of a large group of people too.
ごめんなさい。
No, I mean, I'm sorry too. This misunderstanding wasn't Saya's responsibility. Besides, most people don't know the names of stars. I was the one in the wrong for saying something so careless.
でも違うって分かった。昨日怪獣なんかじゃなかった。綺麗だった。冬のアルビレ
Saya struggled to get the words out.
オ。私の瞳に似てた。
In the tiniest voice, the words, just a little, were added to the end of her sentence as she hung her head and blushed.
ありがとう、空見くん。私の目を見て、あんな綺麗なものを最初に思い浮かべてくれて。嬉しかった。すごくすごく。
Saya said, finally working through her shyness. Her eyes were glued to the floor, but with that smile, my head began to spin and I stumbled a bit. Even Hikari was standing next to me. I'm not sure why, but she stumbled a bit too.
それが言いたかったの。だから、それじゃ。
She vigorously bowed her head, and before we knew it, Saya was gone.
何あれ。超可愛いんですけど。
Hikari said with an expression of utter disbelief as she gazed in the direction that Saya had run off to. I continued to gaze down the same street she'd vanished to, my heart beating frantically in my chest.
さてと、それじゃあ私も帰ろっかな。
Hikari said cheerfully after petting Kotaro.
じゃあね、小太郎。お利口にするんだよ。あ、太郎、小太郎のことよろしくね。
After the two dogs had their goodbyes,
またね、アキト。
She turned to give me a big wave goodbye before taking off. Sure, later. With a loneliness not unlike the setting sun, the dogs and I watched Hikari run off. It was the beginning of the week, Monday. I went to school the same way I always do. I headed to the classroom the same way I always do, but this time for some reason I stopped right before the room. How was it before? Recently, Hikari and I had been doing nothing but Star Talk every day. Before that, I don't really want to remember. I was blunt and treated all the students like enemies. So how would I enter the class now?
昨日のテレビ見た見たすんごい笑っちゃった次の日曜さ集まってみんなでやろうよあれおおいいね
They really are loud. I could hear the entire conversation outside the classroom. But that voice seemed a little farther than usual. I mean, obviously she's on the other side of the door, but... Morning. I entered the classroom the same way I always do, giving a curt greeting to everyone. My classmates' reaction was not as cold as it had been before. Since the Stargazers meetup, even I felt like they had accepted me as a member of the class. Speaking of Takeichi and his friends... His attitude was just as bad as ever, but since that winter swim, it didn't seem like he wanted much to do with me. Morning. I gave her a quick greeting, then headed to my seat. Since there was no more event to prepare for, I didn't want to bother her by being too familiar. As I took my seat, my eyes met with Saya, who was seated by the window. Morning. That girl was so shy that even a trivial greeting made her blush and look away. I thought we had gotten to know each other, but I guess I was wrong. I sat at my seat. I didn't have anything to do, so I pulled out a book. It was a book I had planned on returning to the library today, a book on stars. But it was so difficult to understand that I couldn't even read it.
やってるね
Hikari peeked over the book I was reading and grinned.
ねえ次は何見る
Excuse me?
何驚いてんのあれで終わりじゃないよね
Hikari said in a somewhat worried voice. Was she talking about stargazing? Oh, of course not. I certainly had intended to look at more stars, especially since I had the telescope.
よかったアキトがいなきゃ見られないもんね
Hikari sounded relieved as she turned to the other students.
ねえまたみんなで天体観測会やろうよ
Sudden proposition caused a bit of commotion in the class. They didn't seem to take it so well.
あれで確かに綺麗だったけど寒いしもういいかな何それやろうよ一緒に
Even as Hikari called out to everyone, they only replied with disinterested expressions. Right before my eyes, Hikari's bubbly expression deflated. I had hoped for just an instant that something might happen, but it looked like it was really over. Well, that's just how it was. I didn't have any big expectations anyway. Saya, seated in the corner, raised her hand.
私も混ぜてもらっていい
The withered Hikari's expression brightened immediately.
天の川さんいいよいいに決まってんじゃんねアキト
Yeah, of course, I said in agreement, my face flustered.
おいでおいで天の川さんほらこっち
Saya stood and timidly made her way over to my seat.
また綺麗な星見たいから
She said, looking like a deer in headlights. She was so cute.
3人でさクラブを作ろうよクラブ天体観測クラブ
Stargazers Club. Hikari looked proud of her good idea. Saya and I looked up and instinctively locked eyes.
面白そう
Yeah, I think it's a good idea, I said, hiding my intense elation by answering in a rather unconcerned voice.
それはいいアイデアね先生
At some point, the teacher had gotten up and come over to us.
そんなあなたたちにこれをあげるわ。
The book that we had been looking at earlier into this game in present day. The teacher placed a book on my desk. Wow, look! A beginner's guide to astronomy!
先生があなたたちくらいの頃に使っていた本なんだけど。へえ、それって何年くらい前？
Miss Satome's expression became cross for just an instant from Ikari's simple-minded question. But she quickly returned to her soft smile. Grown-ups really were amazing.
そんなものは宇宙の歴史に比べたら瞬きの一瞬よ。それとあの三極と課題はずっと使ってていいわ。
Are you sure? I had actually been worried about that. I couldn't look at the stars without the tripod and stand.
ええ、冬の川で泳ぐようなバカな真似を今後二度としないならね。
I'm sorry about
ご
that.
めんなさい。ごめんなさい。
The teacher chuckled a bit when she'd seen that even Saya had been dragged into apologizing. Thanks, Miss Saotome.
大事に使ってね。
After saying that, the teacher moved away from my seat.
早乙女先生って優しくて綺麗で素敵ね。でしょ？私たちの自慢の先生だもん。でもってアキトの好きな人なんだよ。知ってた？
LOL. Don't be stupid. Why would you even think something like that?
ああ、赤くなってる。私見たもんね。こないだの観測会の時もそうやって赤くなってたの。
Yeah, dating a teacher, and I mean, it happened in P5. I'm kidding.
そうなんだ。
I told you that's not true.
ほら、チャイム鳴ったわよ。自分の席へ戻りなさい。はーい。
That was how the Mikazuki Astronomy Club had started. It wasn't an official club or anything, but I preferred it that way. We just used the title of our club to hang out together and look at the stars. It was like adventuring around the Milky Way every day. With our innocent minds, we were hungry to learn as much as we could. We pointed our telescope to the edges of the night sky, to the edges of the cosmos. We gazed at clusters of countless stars and dreamed of places far, far from here. And present day. And with that having been done, this is exactly where I left off the stream from before, and so I only feel right this is where I'll leave off for now. I could go further, but I'd A, have to restart, and B, again, it's not entirely going off of my usual stream schedule. As a matter of fact, I know that this early stream definitely threw a lot of people for a loop. I don't think anyone really showed up, but it definitely helps me feel better knowing that I could at least have something backed up to YouTube that isn't just the game audio with my mouth moving and no audio of my voice whatsoever. So at least I managed to make up for that now. And this time, again, I've been making sure that my mic is not mute, so there's definitely a lot of audio pickup. And with all that being said, again, thank you to anyone who might be watching this, either the VOD or on YouTube, maybe in the far future or near future, who knows. You might stumble into this, and again, I just want to take this moment to really thank anyone who has stopped by and is tuning in for the duration of this playthrough. this is definitely a super interesting one, and from the looks of it, I deciding on either Corona or Hikari, one of those two, as it turns out. I might save Saya for a later route, and again, it might be done off stream, I don't know. Much like with If My Heart Had Wings, I'll very likely just end up streaming a single route, and then clear out all the other routes on my own. Again, you should be able to find all the other routes online somewhere, because I doubt it would be a fun stream to just see me skip through everything, you know, and then just only see the differences with the routes and endings. I don't know how truly entertaining that would be. So, it's the main reason why I decided against it for If My Heart Had Wings. And yeah, since this game has a very similar layout, as a matter of fact was made by the same people, I feel like it's only right to keep it the exact same. So, that is what I'm going to be doing for this playthrough as well. Again, if you're curious about a different ending, another route, perhaps, you know, you're interested in seeing how else the game could unfold, then definitely do pick it up yourself. It is on a bit of a sale right now, and it would help support Moe Novel. So again, if you're sitting here, you're enjoying my playthrough so far, then definitely do consider dropping a follow on Moe Novel's Twitter, which is literally just @MoeNovel, and consider picking this game up yourself. Other than that, that will wrap it up for now. I might go live again later, who knows. But if I do, it'll be with more Recettear, and I'll see you guys with my next stream, in which I'll finally be getting back to a proper Recettear stream. And yeah, then we'll finally be able to progress in present time in this game for after. So, all formalities aside, this is the end. Take care, everyone. Peace. Boop, boop, boop.
ガオタイトルに戻るぞ
I also don't need to save, or I should think not, because it's literally right here. This girl really irks me though, so yeah. I'll just head back to the title screen.
ガオ
So, that's a sky full of stars. Thanks everyone for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.